I guess I'm not sure how many people are gonna join today, but um, so Anthony, did you kind of look at the Google Doc a little bit?
Yeah, I looked at it last night when it was sent.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was like up till like 2 in the morning. Mad hatter. I was like,
I,
go to
I
bed.
know I couldn't sleep.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of us had graduations this past week, so probably everybody's relaxing.
right. Yeah, yesterday I'm not sure how I stumble upon such things, but I was on this TIBIC meeting. So it's like the NCAI, National Congress of American Indians, and they have like a task force for IGA, so like Indian gaming.
Mhm.
And then so I was able to register for one of their webinars, and then I seen another one. And so yesterday it was like, geez, like a 4 hour meeting that I kind of wasn't expecting to join because, I had a bunch of stuff to finish up. But so I found it to be very insightful. And then there was also a presenter from AHEC who just talked about like what their budgetary ask is going to be. But so it covered like education, and there was like a lot of people that were talking about like treaty obligations and things like that. So I put like a link in one of these tabs. I didn't share my notes because my notes are kind of all over the place and people might become disturbed by my thoughts. So I won't share those ones. But I thought that like, okay, so today they're supposed to be 19th and 20th. There's like an in-person kind of workshop about like overall budget. So like it includes like tribal law enforcement. I think IHS may be separate. They had education, um, and a bunch of other like topics. But so I guess it's like a big meeting and they have like subcommittees. And I guess I didn't know until yesterday that like all of the tribes are broken up into like um 12 regions, I guess. And like there's kind of like people that oversee different ones and try to like relay information to the tribal leadership and things like that. Um, and yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But I guess we'll get started with this conversation. So I figured we didn't really have a topic for with the college fund. We haven't been able to meet all that much, but I thought it would be a good idea to just do some reflecting on like what you've accomplished this year, but also and I'll post this in the chat one more time. Um, what you've accomplished this year and kind of like what are your goals for the next year. So I kind of was just hoping that maybe we could just go around and get updates. Because I was thinking maybe even just starting a tab for each organization represented. Um, because I think that it would be a good idea for us to be able to see what everyone's working on, and if we have something that could benefit the next TCU that we might be able to share a resource. So if anybody wants to volunteer, just talk about what you accomplished this year and maybe just throw your institution in the chat. That way I can create a tab for you. I guess in another note, so the NACTEP grant, that's the one I'm paid out of right now. And so I've been the project director for about 10 years now. And so they had done the notice inviting applicants. So everybody submitted. And then they turned around and said, we're not making any new awards. And like, um, basically shut it down. And now they're proposing to extend it for another year. So I put a link for that in there as well in one of the tabs. So, I mean, I guess I'll just talk through these smart metrics. I'm assuming everybody's kind of like familiar with how to set smart goals. Um, I feel like a lot of times sometimes we have these goals, but then do the do the action items under the goals actually get us to meet where we're trying to go? So the SMART goal framework is kind of like supposed to be like a tool that you can use to define your goals specifically. So for example, one goal that we have with our grant is to see either I think it's 65 or 70% persistence rate from fall to spring in our cohort students. So that would be a measurable goal and it is attainable. I think when I first started this, like I probably shared this before, we had like 50 some business students and then only 22 came back the next semester, which I thought was crazy. But so I kind of had this like revelation of like letting students know like, hey, you got to sign up for next semester and kind of over promoting them to come back. And then so is it relevant like your goal, is it relevant to like overall? And then timely, like what kind of timelines can you set for your project? Nice. Yes, I can do that. So have you guys like what kind of stuff have you done this year?
Well, we've kind of been transitioning between workforce development. Kim Olson was the original workforce development person that we started, and she kind of helped get the non-credit community education sector going for our communities. And if any of those that are on the call don't know, we were represented in the Isanti Dakota territory and also the Umaha Nation. So we work with them, and then we have a urban setting in South Sioux City on the Nebraska side. So working with those three, we've kind of been able to start determining what our community needs were. So we did finish our strat plan for this year and kind of identified what we needed. We didn't have a very good turnout, unfortunately, for a lot of the surveys, like many other people do. But what we did gather is we actually really fully embraced a institutional researcher this year. And so the institutional researchers really put together a lot of these needs assessments. And we have what we call a tribe initiative, kind of like the SMART, but it's for our attainable goals and achievable goals and our directives for our curriculum here. So, and the acronym, I know it's printed somewhere. I was trying to look for it on our website. But each one of our goals, when we assess that we need something, it has to meet all five criteria in order for us to start pushing forward. So the institutional researchers put together a lot of data that now we can really start moving forward, making more executive decisions based upon what we're going to need for our communities. But we just ended conversations with the Ponca tribe of Nebraska as they're expanding. So Ponca tribe has the northern Ponca tribe has been in Nebraska, original inhabitants of Nebraska for many years, but they were removed. But it wasn't until I believe it was the early 90s, where they actually received their government, uh, I guess, approval to operate as a tribe. So now here in Nebraska, they have no tribal jurisdiction. So a lot of their traditional lands that they had, Sioux City, Sioux Falls, Omaha, Lincoln, those are now their jurisdictions. So they've been setting up tribal offices, buildings, resources all across the state. And so we've been trying to get them on board for the past 5 years. And this is the first year that we actually got really good movement. And so now their organization factor has been really huge. And in fact, Larry Wright Jr. Is the chairperson for the National Congress of American Indians. So he's actually a Northern Ponca tribal member. Um, but working with them now, we can really expand our opportunities within the state of Nebraska and other resources. So the NICC is expanding. We're not tribally run. We're our own non-for-profit sector, so we get a lot more ability for grants. We get a lot more ability for less tribal approval and more kind of whatever we feel is necessary to provide. So we got a lot of freedom. And being part of AHEC, we do have we're trying to standardize some of the processes across AHEC with Anunnaki and the other groups to make sure that tribes um, are that these TCUs are able to have a standard operating procedure when it comes to certain issues that come their way. So Mike Oltrogi, Dr. Michael Oltrogi is our president. He's now the longest lasting tribal president of all the TCUs at 22 years. So he's got a really good understanding of how these operations are. So, but I know it's a lot, but there's been a lot of movement. And this year we actually had 48 graduates, which is the most we've ever had ever. And we're a total virtual college right now. So we're able to bring on a lot more opportunities. And fortunately, with myself and Haskell Art Institute and SKC, we're the recipients of these 7J grants, which are community economic build grants. And so our purpose to go out and teach entrepreneurship to get natives ready for their own economic build in their tribal communities is a big push for us. We've had issues with the funding, of course, as well as all SBA partners, Small Business Administration partners. But for the most part, we're continuing to plant the seeds and raise the awareness of how these graduates, how these past recipients of their degrees in the Alumni Association can start to build their communities with this knowledge, with these opportunities. We went under scrutiny 3 weeks ago with the DEI verdict that now the women-owned, veteran-owned, and including the native-owned businesses are now considered DEI. So there's no, I guess, advantage for underrepresented areas. So we're challenging that now with our lawyers, but we're making sure that we still have the ability to move forward with our entrepreneurs. So currently, my program, the Tribal College Small Business Administration achievement, grant. I can do all my classes virtually to be able to get entrepreneurship training for any native across the United States because we have no boundaries like Haskell or like the Art Institute or like SKC. So I have entrepreneurs in California, I have entrepreneurs in New Mexico, I have entrepreneurs in North Carolina, the Dakotas, Minnesota. So I work with all of them. And we also have the Apex accelerators with the 8A program for our native entrepreneurs once they get finished to help develop their communities. So we're tying it in with the college and our ability to offer entrepreneurs that training and then getting them ready for startups with our continued business programs, and whoever else is coming from the other TCUs can come to us and we guide them on their steps into getting workforce development. And so working with our new workforce development, Paris, we're going to get professional training, we're going to get career rehabilitation, we're going to do some possible credit rebuild opportunities, and even some capital investment in some of these off-reservation communities. So anyway, there's a lot, but it's a lot we're working on, and currently partnering with the Iowa tribe. We now have a international trade zone available through the Iowa Tribe where we can take project native entrepreneurial products and be able to do professional development for some of these key positions and be able to continue to develop tribal trade and ancestral trade routes and also contemporary where we're sending overseas now. So a lot, a lot.
Yeah, that
So
sounds
opportunities are waking up. But
awesome.
that's about half of the things. I don't. We got other people on here that got a lot of stuff going on too.
Anyone else want to share? Kind of like we're just looking at what you were accomplished, what you were able to accomplish this year, and kind of like some of the goals that you have for next year in terms of like even career advising, career service work.
Yeah, I think our goals are definitely longer term than just instantaneous. And
Right.
a lot of these instant goals that they did in the past here, they fell flat on their face because there was no longevity. So creating sustainable practices.
I kind of like that mindset too. Like I want to create something that will like be able to still be there, if I leave or whatever. Um, so I kind of like that idea of like long term and how like do you feel that you have pretty positive like relationships with like the tribal governments and like they're supportive of like the work that you're doing and everything?
Yeah. So I think everyone on this call that's been with their college long enough know when we talk about longevity, sustainability, we know that many of our positions are grant fed, and when those grants run out, then we have to shift gears and move into something else that grant requires us. So the efforts for these longevity become stale, and we don't get to continue. So with what Dr. Altrogi has done here, he's created us a safety net that just doesn't end when that grant ends. Now we can support that position through some of our internal funding. And that's been the biggest hill that we've had to cross with NICC because right now NICC is still as $1 credit hour college. So we get no revenue from education.
Mhm.
And if anybody acquires a Pell Grant, then that money goes back to the student because Mike doesn't want a student to leave us with an enormous bill to pay.
Right.
So pretty much you get paid to go to NICC. So if you do your 4 classes, you're paying $12 plus that's your computer and your books. Whatever the person gets on Pell Grant, the 2,000 to 3,000 more goes back to the student. So he wants those struggling mothers, those families to have money while they're going to college and to be taken care of. So our revenue sector of investment and stuff like that has got us over the hump to be able to sustain these practices now. Now we don't have to worry about when the grant runs out, so do the efforts. So that's kind of one of the biggest things that we've accomplished since COVID was to get those long-term investments to be able to keep the individuals in their key positions so they can continue their efforts. And if my grant doesn't come through, we've already been assured through the college that we're going to continue these efforts to continue to build our communities in this capacity. So I think that's one of the biggest things as a goal that we've set, we've reached, and now we're able to continue to push forward with it. But as you know, again, the smaller colleges, the smaller TCUs that are barely operating, that are getting by day by with not being able to pay heavy salaries for talent acquisition, and those are the kind of efforts that maybe there's something that we can assist each other with to be able to see how we can get to that point if we aren't are there already. So, and then what was the second part of that question?
Um, I guess you mean the ones from here?
Let's see.
Just like just like what are your goals for next year, you know? So like, um, what did you kind of like, what did you do? And then like, what are your plans for next year? So like, I know you talked about like long term,
Yeah,
and I think like those are all really good. And I feel like something that I feel is very important is kind of like having it all like written out, you know?
yeah.
Um, so oh sure. Yeah, I agree. Is it Cachita? Is that how you pronounce it?
Cause shy. People call me
Cachita?
shy. You can call me
Chai.
shy.
Okay. Yeah. He said he loves that idea of a dollar tuition. Not profitable, but it is great for the community. Um, I agree. I think that sometimes our students are having to raise kids and attend college, and it's like it can be like a lot of barriers. Are you getting healthy dollars from the government? Um,
So what we've been able to do with those dollars that we've obtained, of course, we have a really high IDC. So anytime we get a grant, 42% goes into our investment into that grant, and then the rest is administrate, or the rest is utilizing for whatever purpose that falls under. So applying for those grants, and then doing now that we have the purchasing power, if you want to say. We're applying for some price match grants now that were unattainable without a capital base or an asset base, and so we're moving forward with being able to take some of those government dollars and utilize that reinvestment and put it into interest accounts and be able to play off of that interest, um, and to be able to continue to finance forward by adding some of those ability to apply for some of those grants that were out of reach at one time. And we've really changed our operating procedures and our auditing purposes now that are more secure, that are more safe for us to be able to get those grants and to manage those grants. And we have a lot of grants that are unrestricted also that we apply for. And so those kind of grants you can use for whatever you need for growth, development, and build. And in capacity, now we're able to take those goals, those strat plans, and those strong auditing purposes, and be able to push them into a realm that creates safety and security for our grantors. So it took a long time to get us out of that hole because of mismanage it back in the 80s and early 90s with this college, and up until the point of almost closing. We were celebrated 50 years last year, but they were about ready to close about 20 years ago, and president said, nope, we're not going to close. And on a skeleton crew, we're now at 3 campuses, and we just built this huge community center that we're going to be using for educational purposes, for community engagements, for vendor fairs, for all these different opportunities for lectures, groups to come in and do research here on the Missouri River. So now we're trying to embrace our different assets with uh, our ecotourism, and being able to work with these tribes to say, hey, here's the valuable assets we have. We're also working with University of Nebraska Lincoln to do an asset mapping of the Omaha Nation and everything that they have available, because they have some of the most prime farmland over there. And so agricultural clean energy is going to be some of the new focus of our educational aspects now that we have these grants available. And because of our good auditing purpose, our growth, our security, now we can start applying for those, $1 million grants, those larger $1 billion grants that are out there for clean energy initiatives, and working with different grantors and not just the government. So we have some of the smaller investors like the Susan T. Buffett Foundation, some of these other foundations that are really invested into our communities. But that's just a build of trust, a longevity thinking process that we have, and being able to say that, hey, our auditing is clear, it's squeaky clear, our business processes are here. Like Iman said, being able to have this written down and be able to have it written down in the standard operating procedure to show somebody, a business investor or alumni investors, and say, here's how your money is going to be utilized. Here's what it's going to show. But we struggled. We struggled for a long time, just to keep some of those old style grants. And I've been here 10 years. And in 10 years, the explosive growth of this college due to its just changing its inner operating procedures has been phenomenal. So I hope that maybe answers a little bit on these large, heavy investments. We're now getting non-government investment. So
Well, that's great. Um, does anyone else want to share? Kind of like we're just doing a reflection um, oops, of what kind of things you've accomplished this year, kind of like in the vein of career planning, career advising, job placement, um, and then kind of like what are your goals for next year? So I know that our there's 5 tribal colleges in North Dakota, and I think all of them got this. I think I mentioned this before, but there's like a large kind of like I think it was like an oil company, Hess. They gave some dollars to help tribal colleges establish apprenticeship programs. And so like we have, I think, 5 apprentices in Native American Studies program. And so one of the projects that they're working on is trying to digitize all of the library's archives. And I think it's been pretty cool. And then we have a tribal museum. Um, and I think that there's 2 of them. There's like an older one, and then there's a new kind of like a heritage center where they have like meeting rooms and things like that. But in the basement of it, they have like kind of like a big space for like library. And I think we have a gentleman that works with us. He came on board probably just a couple years ago now, but his name is Michael Bartholomew, and he does a lot of like historian work. So like he's really knowledgeable, and when you hear him talk, he just sounds like a talking encyclopedia about all these different things. So I think he's been really working to integrate the 2 kind of like sources for like the our tribe's history anyways with our library, and then that new kind of heritage place or interpretive center they call it. But yeah, so if anybody else wants to share, feel free. Um, so I've been kind of like, I'll just go through our stuff real quick. And so I didn't really do any reflection of like this past year, but so we've been kind of what we have done is we have like a employment portfolio. Um, see if I can type and talk at the same time. But so with our grant, our college doesn't necessarily have like a fully functioning career service department. I would say like probably about September of last year, they asked if we would be willing, our department would be willing to kind of like help establish a career service department. And we definitely said yes. It's just kind of like a matter of like people getting time. So like this kind of career prep stuff is like kind of like a priority for us, but it kind of has in the past fallen off the priority list, you know? So we're just kind of been waiting for kind of like the go ahead, and so I was just gonna um, share. These are kind of like the goals here. Um, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Workforce Pell program, but I only got like a tiny bit of information about it. But it basically sounds like you can you'll be able to like access Pell to do like a workforce training program. So like typically one of the programs that's like only 8 weeks long wouldn't be like Pell eligible. So I think there's some things that have to get in order for that to happen. And I'm pretty sure it has some required coordination by um the financial aid director. And then the other thing, I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of this or not, but it's called ability to benefit. And it's kind of like the same concept. Again, it kind of requires you to work with your financial aid director, but it's essentially getting people into career training, like into college, while they don't have their GED. But the idea, I think, is that they would get their GED while they're working on it. Um, And so I would like to see that happen. But I'm not sure if I'm able to push forward with that, but I can do my best to make the case and everything. But like a lot of time when we do outreach and things like that, um, there's a lot of, I would say, the adult population that we work with that don't quite have their GED. So it kind of becomes a hindrance when they want to go to college, but they've just really struggled to get that done. And then so we do have an adult education program, but she primarily just provides them with like free resources, and she has like test vouchers. And then we partner with our 477 program on that. So some of the students that are, um, thanks for joining, Shy. Um, so with the GED program, she's able to provide a stipend through the 477 program for people that are kind of coming consistently and making progress. And so I think that's really been great. Like I think we had like 10 GED graduates because they get to walk in the ceremony and everything. And I think that's really special. Just that she provides them that opportunity. But I think that, like Anthony was sharing, they have like online. I would really like to see like an online version of like GED kind of coursework, because right now we just have like resources. So um that's what I would like to see anyways, just because I feel like sometimes people need either the in-person instruction or like kind of have a study plan that they can engage with online. So develop a case management plan, find a software. So like one of the big things kind of related to this portfolio is we have our students develop a resume, cover letter. We give them a sample of how to do a bio. And then we have them do kind of like a job history worksheet. And then we have them kind of like put a binder together that is with the idea that they're kind of collecting all of the things that they've worked on so that they're able to highlight their skills and their accomplishments when they go out to look for work. What I find is a lot of our students are already employed. But again, I always say this, like some of our students don't really come into college with the mindset of career training, you know. Um, but one thing that we do with our NACTEP program is we have like a holistic model. So like we try to do an assessment about what other barriers they might have outside of just their classwork. So if they are, say, a parent and they have young children, our grant is able to help with a little bit of their childcare every month. And then also for anybody that lives like 15 miles away or more from the main campus, they're eligible for like a mileage stipend every month. And so like prior to me coming into my position, we did a lot of student surveys, and the two main barriers that they identified was transportation and childcare. So like the amounts that we provide are relatively small, but the whole idea is that we're kind of offsetting a little bit of the cost. So like with that assessment, we asked them like, how confident do you feel in like your food security? How is your mental health, you know? And so based on their answers, what we would do is just kind of provide them a couple resources. For example, we have a free kind of counseling service through the Village Family Services. And I don't know if that's just a North Dakota agency or not, but they can do like telehealth, and they work with like interns and things like that. So it's relatively easy to at least get some mental health contact right away. But so like the whole idea is that we consider the student and that they have a lot of stuff going on, that they're not just a student. But I would really like to find a good way to kind of like maybe even automate some of this stuff so it's not so much of like, oh, we forgot to make sure that we sent the resources, you know, like I would really like to automate it. So that's what I was saying about like a software. Um, and then sorry. Oh, cool. Um, So improve alumni and job placement tracking. I feel like right now, and this could be the case for a lot of TCUs, but like we just kind of go by word of mouth. Like this faculty knows that this student got a job and things like that. I feel like there's a way at the like it's like you have our college theoretically could work with like the job services program, which is kind of like, I would say like the workforce hub for North Dakota, to kind of put their, what's the word? Their social security numbers in, and then it kind of like tracks their employment outcomes or whatever. But I don't think that our board was like wanting to do that at the time, but something that we could use to kind of get better tracking. Me and my staff, we went to this career seminar. So it's in Wapaton, North Dakota. And so the college is called North Dakota State College of Science. So it's like a trade school, but I think they also have some bachelor degrees. But so they have, I'm not 100% sure, but so they have this model where they have the student do their first year of coursework fall, spring, and then in the summer they have like a required or like a mandatory co-op. So they actually go out and work the whole summer. And then they come back for their second year, and pretty much by the end of their program, they're already employed a lot of times with the place they co-op. So they have like about a 97% placement rate for like all of their programs. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, we should be making goals like that, you know? But so that's one of the goals, I guess. Measure effectiveness comprehensively of the NACTEP project. So I just kind of want to do an assessment of like all of the graduates we've had so far and like how many were like participants of the NACTEP program. So again, we help with like the transportation, childcare, but then we also help with some tuition, and then there's training stipends, and then like a little book and fee stipend. Um, and then the other goal is to like increase career advising outreach to secondary and adult populations like in the community. Um, so those are the kind of things that we we or I would like to see happen. And then kind of like I guess primarily is implement career services like for the whole campus. Um, and then I'll just show this to you guys. And if at any time you want to speak up, go right ahead. Let's see here. So, this is kind of something I'm like in the process of developing. So my game plan is to kind of prepare this for the administration, just like this is the plan. So currently we have the ASMT 200, which is like it's like the capstone course for our associate programs. And so like that's about the time where we start talking about careers is at the very end. And so like I would really like to see it starting with our incoming students. And then we have this free software. The state of North Dakota provides us access for free, all the tribal colleges. So I'm hoping to integrate that somehow because there's a psychology of student success that pretty much all the incoming students have to take. But I would like to do some career advising early on. Excuse me. Um, so end of semester survey, just kind of like getting feedback of what went well and things like that. So like right now, I would say that the college, they do like at least once a semester, like they meet with their advisor. So like I was thinking like to have like contact points with like career advisors. And then so like as a part of that assessment 200 course, they do like a presentation where they pull different projects from throughout their programs, and they highlight what skills they learned, and then they kind of discuss the project and how and what they learned from it. But right now it's kind of like they're kind of having to go back over the whole course of their program and then pull everything for the portfolio. So I was thinking to integrate it somehow to like where they're kind of pulling those artifacts over time so that it's not such a big cumbersome task at the end of their program. We don't really have many employers, but I would really like to see more internship experiences or even job shadow type work. Um, which program? Um, Employer relations. I kind of I started an email campaign a while back, so I'm probably just gonna finesse that a
Are
little.
are you program for your?
Yeah.
That's from North Dakota State.
Oh, the you mean that career software?
The one that you said's free.
Yeah. Um,
We may use it. I don't know, but I don't want to pass up an opportunity.
yeah. Let me see. I'll put it on this.
I did list the GED platform we use. We're administrators of it, and we actually um, have the tribes actually pay our administrator for it, so we're
Oh,
not paying it. And we have 60 seats we've bought, and it's all online virtual. So
nice. So
okay,
with the seats in that GED program, like they basically work at their own kind of like pace or
yeah. And if the administrator doesn't see them logged in for 2 or 3 days, she automatically sends them emails and asks them what they need for completion, or if there's a dedicated time they need, or is there study skills they need, that kind of good stuff. So, but she stays on top of them. So far, since she's been in there in 6 months, we went from one every 2 years to now three within 3 months. So, three graduates. So, and she, if they're not active for over three weeks, she sets them back, and then she brings another person in because
that's
she
awesome.
wants to make those seats attainable. So I think she's got like four more that are testing this week, but she also utilizes the college vehicles to go pick them up to take them to their testing sites.
Wow.
So, which is about a 250 mile radius.
What's your acronym?
What's that?
What's your acronym? Nebraska.
NICC, Nebraska Indian Community College.
Um, okay. Alumni engagement. I'm kind of interested in taking point on this, but right now it's kind of like under student services, but I feel like the employment placement and stuff is kind of like already what's the word? It's related to career services anyways. That's my thought. A department survey. So like what I was thinking is to have like each of the academic departments do a survey about like maybe local employers that they're aware of or different research opportunities um that they would like. There's a I was throwing around the ideas of where might be the best location. So we have a lot of space, but a lot of it is like underutilized. But so just a standard location where there's like ability for them to get resume paper and things like that. There's this next chapter curriculum, and it's sponsored by North Dakota State University, and it incorporates some of that Are You Ready, but it also has like kind of like life skills, I would say, like communication, kind of like advocating for self and things like that. So Levi, who I work with here, he has been kind of like taking some of the activities and kind of putting them together to prepare for like some outreach that we want to do. And then also to use it for like incoming students. Job placement, again, like we're trying to work with some of our CNA completers to make sure they get through their programs. Because some of them get through the program, but they don't like do the testing. So we're trying to work with some of them to try to get them through their testing. But I would definitely want to improve like job placement strategies and things like that. Job prep. So that's kind of something we do right now with the portfolio. So these are all just my kind of like outline of like the plan that I want to put together. And then soft skills, kind of just did some searching. And there's the location again. But yeah, so that's kind of like where I would like to go with some career service things in at our institution anyways. And I put that Are You Ready site in the chat too. Weston, Jamie, Lee. Any of you guys want to talk about what you guys are working on?
I can.
Okay.
I can. So, I've kind of been, I developed a plan for my fall events for career services, and I made it really focus on kind of building up to one big event at the end of the fall semester, which is a mock interview event. I really focus on that career prep side. So I have things like, the resume basics to navigating job search platforms, tailoring the resume, going through the application process, and then interview skills, all leading up to a mock interview event that I'm having the very first day of December. So it's kind of like, in order to participate in that mock interview event, you also have to attend these previous events that I have going on. And I'm doing this because attendance to my events, it's really hard to get students to events. And we always have so much going on campus, and everything's always during lunch. So we've run into multiple things throughout the year where there are like 5 events going on and everybody's just widespread, and either you have great attendance or you have no attendance. So I'm just trying to increase, that's my goal for this next year, is have everything planned out to where my people know what's coming, and my attendance can get better with these events. I'm also trying something new during Welcome Week. I'm going to have a part-time career fair, just because we did a survey for our alumni, and their biggest struggle, they mentioned, after going from college to career, is that they lacked work experience. They didn't have enough work experience to enter the workforce. And so I'm creating the part-time job fair to help students at least gain that work experience and get a feel of what it's like to, essentially just work, know how, get a feel of what different environments are. So I'm running that. I partner with You Mary and VSC, and we do a suit up event at JCPenney before our fall career fairs. I've done that. I did that twice this past year, and it had some traction, and I'm trying to get that up there for more traction this year. My fall did better than my spring last year, so I'm hoping my fall one does pretty well. I know it's a chance for our students to get discounted business clothes at JCPenney, so I really hope they take advantage of that. And then one of the goals we set for my department this spring was to have a virtual career fair in the fall. And so I'm going to try my hand at that because our online student population is growing. And so we want to make things more, have more online things accessible to them. And so I'm going to try a virtual career fair, and I'm going to do that via Handshake. So yeah, that's about what I have planned for the fall.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And you're at United Tribes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, forgot to mention that, guys.
Awesome. So what do you guys normally do at Welcome Week for career services, or are you just kind of now putting something in for?
This is my first time actually doing something during Welcome Week. Usually I just like table at our first day event where students can walk around and see what events we have to offer, but this is going to be my first time actually doing something during Welcome Week for them.
Oh, awesome. Does anyone else want to share? Weston? I know your crocheting. I feel like it's always a thing when your email doesn't like have your whole name. Well, if no one wants to add anything or no one has any other questions, I think we might just end early. So I typically try to start back up in about October just because like there's a little bit of transition for the new semester and things like that. But um I'm not sure kind of like the full plan of the college fund taking over. So I'm kind of just going to plan to set up some meetings for next year and I'll try to get the dates out like probably early summer so it's kind of like set in place already. So yeah, with that, if you guys have any thoughts on like things we should cover and talk about, like please send them my way. Um, on that main TCU Career Consortium page, there's like some resources that I've been kind of like adding in there over time, and I haven't added any in a while, but you guys are welcome to add stuff in there. You would just have to send me like a edit request or whatever, or you can send it directly to me, either way. And they're kind of like at the bottom page right here. So federal resumes, advanced CTE, and then these are kind of like the content for the last several years. And if you click the link, you can see whatever is there, maybe um, notes or recordings that were done. But yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording.